How's it going, everybody? So y'all liked that God of War dissected video that I did last time. Now this time we're going to be doing God of War Ragnarok. We're going to be focusing on the updates. There's some cool stuff, some controversy to talk about. And in the end, as always, we're going to take a look at some of the models from the game. So make sure you watch the whole thing so you can get all the information. Let's get started.
Ready! Together!
God of War Ragnarock. This is a new entry into the God of War series. It's an upgrade, but it's not that much different from the first game. You're gonna see that when we get into the models. Now, a little bit about the story. The story in this one, I liked. I think the story was great. I do think, like a lot of comments that I've seen online, that it came to a halt once you get into the Angraboda part where you're in Ironwood. That part was just too slow. Yeah, it builds up the story a little bit. It kind of tells you where Jormungandr comes from. But other than that, you can probably skip that whole thing and you'd be fine. Okay, and something about the story that I forgot to mention last time, and it has to do with this game and the previous game too, is that the way that these games are written, there's still some mystery about them. As far as I know from what I played in the game, there's still no reason like why Faye died other than she probably saw the what was going to happen and decided to marry Kratos, have a kid with him in order to, I don't know, get rid of the Aesir, because that's pretty much what happened, and she's a giant, she can see the future. I don't know, maybe that theory is wrong. You let me know in the comment section down below. But I do like that there is a mystery still around so many things. Nowadays, when it comes to video games and movies, for a reason that I don't understand, they like to spoon feed the audience absolutely everything. They like to explain, whether it's an exposition or, you know, during the story itself. They don't let you wonder. There's no mystery left in the movie. Like when you get out of the theater, you don't wonder like what happened to that character. But in this, like at least in these two God of War, there were a lot of things that I was left wondering, what was that thing? Where did that thing come from? And I think that is some great writing. That is something that get people still invested in your game way after they have finished it. Moving on to the technical part, visuals, there is more things on the characters, and you'll see in the model section that we have more geometry on the characters, or a little bit higher poly, not that far off, but there is a little bit more detail. However, there's a lot of fur and hair in this game because of the winter, and a lot of the armors are like winterized. One of the things that I see in this game is the hair material is amazing. Like the hair on Kratos, the hair on the armors, and everything is hair cards, by the way. There are no grooms, there's nothing weird going on. It's just hair cards. And when it's hair cards, it has to do with the material. So when it comes to hair cards, you usually have your diffuse map, your normal map. You may have an anisotropic map sometimes when it's stylized. You also have a depth mask. Usually you have your alpha mask, of course. There is something in this shader that makes the hair look really, really good. Like, I personally have not seen other games where hair looks this good. Now, you let me know if you have seen other games where they have this kind of hair. Let me know in the comment sections down below if you have seen something that looks like this or that is better. Now, moving on to the two controversies that were going on with this game. One was with the Angraboda, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but with that character that was in Ironwood with Atreus, and the other one was with Thor. So we're gonna go with Angraboda because that's the quickest one. The controversy with this character was the fact that this is a Norse mythology, and this character had a different color skin. Let me ask you this. Let's say, as all the rumors are talking about, the next God of War takes place in Egypt. Let's say they make one of the gods in Egypt blonde. How do you think people are gonna react? What do you think social media is going to say? Let me know in the comment sections down below. That's how that issue gets resolved. Now on to Thor. Well, there wasn't much of a controversy with Thor, but more of like a lot of people didn't like his design because they decided to go with fat Thor as opposed to, you know, the real muscular god that he's supposed to be. I think they did the Thor design good. Let me explain why. Putting on my character artist hat. When you see this character and what goes on in game with this character, what does he do? He drinks all the time. He's a character that is depressed, and he drinks, and he drinks, and he boasts on how much he drinks. When I see Thor, you know what it reminds me of? Somebody that drinks a lot of beer. And I don't know what meat it's supposed to be made of. I think it was honey or something, but it was a highly carbohydrated drink, like beer. So if you were to tell me to like put up a mood board of somebody that just drinks a lot, that just likes to drink and likes to drink all the time, this is what I would think about. I wouldn't think of somebody that is ripped. I would think of somebody that is fat, like it has a round belly. Usually round bellies like this are very classic of people that drink a lot. So I think the way that they designed the character to his personality, it goes pretty well. Like it just, whether you like that personality or not, that's another issue entirely. But the personality of the character goes perfectly well with its design. It's somebody that is constantly depressed, constantly angry, and is constantly drinking. So let me know in the comments below if you disagree after I mentioned this, but I do think the design of Thor is on point to what he is. Because usually when you make a character, the character, you want the people to see what the character represents. The gameplay, the combat in this game is more fun. There are a lot of similarities with the combat in the previous one, but I do think this one is a little bit faster. I do think Kratos is a little bit more agile, and the fact that you have more combos with Atreus, I think it's pretty cool. I'm also one of the people who liked playing as Atreus. I liked how his kit of arrows, his combos, very agile character. I thought his kit was pretty cool. My problem with the Atreus character is that whenever you play just as Atreus, there was a lot of cutscenes. And there was so many slow segments like the segment Ironwood. I wish we had more time actually doing combat as Atreus in those segments as opposed to all the cutscenes, so many cutscenes. And I think this is the problem that I and a lot of people have with this game is there's so many cutscenes in this game. It's just, and some people mention my past videos like, well, that's how you tell the story. There's tons of ways that you can tell the story while the player's still engaged and not just watching a movie. This is still a video game. This is not a movie. So yeah, the fact that this game had so many cutscenes, it really brought things down. And it's so sad because the combat here is amazing. And I think the developers in Santa Monica realized that while they were making the game. And that is why they put out this DLC called Valhalla, which everybody who bought the game got it for free. And this DLC is just you playing as Kratos, and it's pure combat. It has a roguelite or roguelite-ish type of game, and it's just that. It's just combat. It does have a little bit of cinematics, cutscenes and all that, but it's for the most part, I felt like the developers with the DLC were saying like, oh, yeah, we know what we did. Sorry, here's this DLC where you can actually enjoy the best parts of this game. So I commend Santa Monica for putting out this DLC. I thought it was fantastic, but I think they addressed a lot of the criticism when it comes to a lot of people saying like, well, there was no reason to use the other weapons. If you play Valhalla, you know there are reasons to use the other weapons and to use different tactics as opposed to just using the axe or just using the Blades of Chaos, which is mostly how I play the game, using the Blades of Chaos. Also, here you don't have a companion, so you don't have to look out for someone else, or you don't have anyone else helping you. It's just Kratos like old times. I wish they also added the camera from old times. That would have been the cherry on top. But I think they tried to go back to what old God of War used to be, at least in God of War 3. I haven't played the other ones. Now, what does it do for the rest of the series? As much as I liked the combat with Atreus. I do hope they don't do the next game just with Atreus. It's going to be very hard to do another game with Kratos because I thought his arc was complete with God of War 3. I think his arc is finished with this God of War. So spoilers, I guess, but this game's too old by now. If you play the Valhalla section all the way to the end, Kratos gets to his realization and he finally gets to be the good God of War. I don't know how the writers can get out of this one. This like fully fulfills his arc. So I'm guessing whatever is next, it has to be either Atreus, which I'm not too sold on just a game with Atreus, or they have to create something like Atreus gets in danger and Kratos goes after him, which I don't know. Let me know what you think. What do you think they would make for Kratos to function in another game? Let me know in the comment sections down below. Now let's go to the models. Now, if you follow me on Twitter or if you rung that bell and you saw my community posts, you've already seen that these were the models that we were going to discuss today. There is a character underneath here. Can you guess who he is? There's a hammer next to him. Probably Captain America, right? Now, I did have an issue getting the textures out. Thankfully, we already looked at the textures, so I highly encourage if you're interested in the UVs and the textures to look at the previous video that I did on God of War, link in the description. So let me show you what happens. Basically, once I get out the files from the game, I got GLBs and I got something called GNFs. Now, GNFs is a file, is a compressed file that's used for PlayStation games, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. It's a way to compress textures for a game. You can see it has the TX texture. It's the usual nomenclature that we use for textures in video games. Now, in the previous video that I did on God of War, I got the textures out as DDS, which is a format the Blender can read. But this one, the tool will not let me convert this to DDS or any other bitmap format. And that's why we don't have the textures. I'm sorry. If you know of a way to convert .gnf files or PlayStation compressed textures, let me know in the comment sections down below, because I scoured the whole internet for a way to do it. And no, the one from GitHub doesn't work. I've already tried. But all right, let's get into some of the things that I wanted to talk about with these characters. And yes, what we have under here, some people guessed it on Twitter, is Thor. Here's Mjolnir. So there you go. Now, the reason why I left him this way is because this is how the character comes out when I strip the files from the game. And these are sphere collisions. There's no two ways around that. You can see all the sphere collisions that he have. I just wanted you to see not only for his head, but his shoulder, arms, hands, even the cape that he wears. You can see all these sphere collisions that he have. And I was very impressed because these spheres are usually higher polygon than the usual collision that you use for video games. Again, I'm more into Unreal Engine. You can use the complex geometry as collision. However, that is not what's recommended because, you know, it needs a lot more computation to run in real time. There's another way to do it via proxy, which is something that we use with Chaos Clothing nowadays. It's a little bit complex to set it up, but it works. Several games are using it and it looks fantastic. However, I've never seen a system where it's all spheres. Now, if we go and delete these, let me hide Atreus for a second. I'm going to delete the collision and it jumps to the middle. Let's get rid of these. So there seems to be two sets of colliders with these. However, with the big ones, there seems to be also several LODs for that. So you can see that the polygons of these characters are pretty high. The characters from the previous game were also very high, but these have a lot more things in them that is geometry. You can see all the little bits and bobs that are on Thor's belt that these would usually be normal maps. But you can see that these are geometry, and the geometry of these it's quite dense. Of course, it's made so it holds the bake, but you can see how detailed the geometry is on someone like Thor, and you can see that for some reason his teeth are on the bottom. Don't ask why. That's just how it came out. And like I said, The hair on these characters looks amazing, yet they are still using hair cards. Hair cards all over the place. You can see all around Thor. And of course, there may be a mix here. Right now, the hair cards are colliding, but I'm pretty sure while he is wearing the hoodie, these are probably hidden. So there isn't any colliding problems, at least in this aspect. But you can see all of the geometry. The geometry is perfect on these characters, by the way. Fantastic. That's why I'm not quadrangulated it, because that way you can appreciate how straight the flow is all around these characters, not only for the hard surface material, but also for things that move and things that bend. And look at how dense the cape is. This is very dense. All right, now I wanted you guys to see Mjolnir. Now there's a lot of detail that is baked into the geometry, at least for this one, because this hammer does have a lot of detail. So you can also see that everything here, usually if this was a weapon in another game, all of this would be normal maps. But you can see everything is geometry. I wish I could show you the textures. If I do find a way to break the textures out, I will post a little bit of an update just so you guys can see the textures. But I wanted you to see like how much detail is into these, that it's not normal. Now, if we go here to tier, the reason why I got tier and all these weapons is because I thought it was very interesting the fact that he has a weapon from like different regions that he's visited. So katana from the Japanese lore, Khopesh, I think that's how this is pronounced, from the Egyptian myth, which could be Kratos' weapon in the next game. And this, which according to the game files is an Aztec weapon. Now, when it comes to tier, one of the things that I do like about tier, and this is a little bit more of something that I've seen on indie games, whenever you see characters that are bigger than the player characters, often, this doesn't happen a lot in AAA, but it does happen a lot in indie games, is often they are scaled characters. So if there is a character that is bigger than the player character, that's just a character that is scaled by probably like 1.5 or 2 times. In the case of tier, they made a character that is much bigger than him, but adjusted the proportions accordingly. So if I take off the wireframe, this model tier is a good study on how you do characters that are bigger than the heroic proportions. So you can see how long his arms and his legs are, because this is such a large character that he is skinny, yes, but you can see that his hands are massive, even though he is a little bit on the slimmer side. It has a lot to do with bone density. You can see like the wrist of my hand, it's not that wide, while the wrist of his hand, it's super wide, even though he isn't very muscular. It has to do with the bones density that you need to carry something that is larger. You can also see it on his head, the way that his head is elongated, and same with the lower limbs. So whenever you're making a larger character, they usually look a bit larger when they're skinnier, and you need to adjust proportions on the limbs accordingly. So this is what makes this character look so believable and so amazing. And Tyr, just like Thor, has a bunch of geometry on him. Even this part of his belt, or his, I don't know, whatever you call it, that goes on his waist, that is a little bit broken, is on geometry and is not pure normal maps. And same thing, a lot of hair cards, fantastic character. Now these other two, I do have them because people on the channel requested to see them. As you can see, Atreus. Atreus, just like Kratos, when I pulled him out, it comes with all of his customizations. So I kind of have to clean him up. Maybe some of the things that you're seeing don't match, but I try to get to the armor that he has for the most part. So you can see that in this part, the way that he has his hair, he kind of has like a buzz cut on the side, and you can see that it's not his head, like the texture, the buzz cut is not on his head. It's actually a different shell, which I think is interesting. So it's basically following the same vein as the eyebrows here. because as you saw on the previous video, Kratos' eyebrows were just a shell. They were not hair cards like these over here on his eyelids. But yeah, just like the other characters, you can see like without normal maps and without anything, you can see all the definition on his armor because there's a lot of geometry on this character. Now on the next one that I have right here is the Valkyrie version of Freya. Again, this is a request that I got from you guys, and you can see her in the cool costume. She also came with a lot of customization, so I may be missing some plates of her armor here. I just tried to clean her up as much as I could, but you can see like even just like the other characters, without normal maps, without anything else. Now, the way that they made this work in Santa Monica was amazing, and is again one of the reasons why I keep telling people, even though this game is last gen because it came out for the PS4, it still looked much better than a lot of games that's coming out for current generation because of all the tricks that they had to do for this game to run. We reached the peak of what hardware can do a long time ago. Now, from now on, it's just how developers can optimize games to look this way and work great. One of the things we've been seeing right now a lot is the fact that developers are choosing to have high-end graphics without putting in the work to make the games look fantastic. In my opinion, you do not need high-end graphics to sell. I know CEOs disagree because of what data shows, but if you're gonna go like this, you need to put in the same work that they put in to make it run well. Alright everybody, that is it for this dissected video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to this point. Remember to like, subscribe, and all those good things. Make sure you stay tuned because next video we're going to talk some things that have made me change my mind when it comes to Unreal Engine. So you're going to want to watch that. Again, thank you so much for watching all the way to this point, and I'll see you in the next one.